Meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Abraham?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Eurig?
Yes.
And Kish is here. All right, I have the meeting minutes from the November 9th, 2021 meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 7:04 p.m. by Lynch. Pledge to the flag and roll call. Abraham, Lynch, Eurig, and Kish were all present. Also in attendance, Case Marsh, G. Lynch, R. Cerrone, L. Ashley, and R. Bechter. 11-121, a motion by Eurig, seconded by Abraham to approve the minutes of the October 26, 2021 regular meeting as corrected. All ayes. 11-2, a motion by Abraham, seconded by Eurig, moved to approve the bills and financial reports with reservations. All ayes. Trustee Lynch noted that there has been no action on the American Rescue Plan Act expenditure planning. S3011 passed by Senate on 10/19/21 and is currently considered by the House. Under reports, ambulance, nothing to report. Zoning, 2 new houses, 5 year-to-date. Site plan review on December 7th, and a BZA hearing for November 11th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Trustee Lynch presented information on the third quarter fire and EMS report. Costs across the board remain pretty consistent. He also gave an update on the traffic preemption system that Chief Wilhelm mentioned at the October 26th meeting regarding state participation for funding. Road, park, and cemetery. Road Superintendent Smarsh reported cemeteries and parks are being maintained with leaf pickup. Park playground equipment was installed and mulch was tilled up. The deadline for installations with the grant dollars received from the Health Department was met. We are currently working to set up a site visit. The catch basins were cut today for the mini grant. Last roadside mowing for the year, working on getting the trucks prepared for winter. Got the first estimate for the truck box replacement at $28,000, and it would be 22 weeks for delivery. Hoping to get the other estimates soon. Trustee Lynch gave an update on the ODOT Township Stimulus Program that Kevin and Linda are working on, and he will be looking over the packet he received. Under Senior Services, currently providing Medicare counseling, working on the ODOT grant, cemetery grant, working with Lorraine County Public Health Department for a site visit for the playground equipment, working on a newsletter article for the winter newsletter, tallying up grants and how they were utilized. Phase 2, Trustee Lynch noted that he received a new email with a link to the new application for the Stormwater Management District Community Grant. Under complaints, they are being handled by the designated individual. Under new business, we received a notice from HR Director of Lorraine County for a 3-year extension of the healthcare benefits joint self-insurance program agreement. 11-321, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Authorization of 3-year extension of healthcare benefits joint self-insurance program agreement with the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners effective January 1, 2022. All ayes. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be November 23rd at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. The end of the year and the 2022 organizational meeting will be held on Tuesday, December 21st, 2021 at 7 p.m. No work session scheduled at this time, but if Pete Zwick becomes available, a date may be set. 11-421, a motion by Eurig, seconded by Abraham to adjourn at 7:50 p.m. All ayes.
Are there any changes or corrections to the November 9th meeting minutes?
One small correction. That's 28,000 with 3 zeros.
Oh, I cut and pasted that, David, from your remark.
3
Must
zeros.
have picked it up. It's corrected.
Okay. Approve the minutes as corrected. Second.
Eurig?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Okay, then you also have in front of you the credit card statement for October.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and the card statement is accepted as presented, subject to investigation.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Eurig?
Yes.
Okay, then we have the financials. You've got the payment listing in front of you. As you can see, it was slow second half of the month. Nothing out of the ordinary there. And Our year-to-date revenue is $1,595,905.59, and our expenditures are $845,764.45.
Say again, what was the total income?
Our total income,
Was 1 million?
$1,595,905.59.
And what was the money spent?
Our expenditures year-to-date are $845,764.45.
Are there any other questions on the payment listing or other financial reports? Hearing none, can I have a motion then to pay the bills and approve the financial reports with reservation?
So move.
Second?
Euring,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. And one other item, Chris, and I do have this under the bills, investments, and financials, and that's the American Rescue Plan Act funds. I did not print another document showing all the expenditure planning, since that document is multiple pages, but we did receive back from the prosecutor his response to our inquiry. So if you look in your packet, there's two documents. One was a September 25th email that I'd sent to the prosecutor's office with 10 different items asking for an opinion as far as eligibility to pay for these items with the American Rescue Plan Act funds. And the next document is dated November 5th, is the prosecutor's response. And essentially 7 out of the 10 items he's approved, and I pretty much expected those. The others that are questionable, even one I thought might be questionable, but parts of it, and that was the cemetery, park, and roadside mowing, though the roadside mowing, I think, we can show compliance. But the other two, and the way he even phrased it is, he says, conversely, we find that under relevant law, insufficient information was provided to this office concerning proposed project numbers 4, 7, and 8 to determine whether and how these projects would align with applicable funding criteria. If additional information is available that you would like us to review, the opinion may be revised. And realize this opinion was written before last Thursday, and what was that date? Because I know that Dan Petticourt was at this meeting of Lorraine County Township Association, which that would have been on Thursday, November 18th, and asked if I'd received his opinion, and I told him I hadn't. I had not, and we found out it was, again, a different individual in his office had the incorrect email. But in any case, he was at that meeting where there was also the EPA was present for a public hearing dealing with the total maximum daily load limit changes that will probably be implemented for those that drain into the Black River watershed. Realize in Amherst Township, we've only got a very small portion that's up there off of Bechtel that drains in the Black River. The rest of our township all drains to Beaver Creek, but they assured us that they're going to be running tests on all the watersheds, so eventually ours may or may not change. But in any case, Dan Bogoveski was there for the EPA representing them in terms of the Division of Surface Water, and he went over the stormwater management update, and some of the items he specifically talked about that we all have to do a better job based on the new regulations is we got to get more specific and more intensive on public education and public involvement. Well, the question, how do you do that? And what we've said is our number one communication tool is with our newsletter. And then we have, on the second meeting of the month, we put an agenda item on specifically dealing with stormwater issues so that people can come forward here. So So that's where we educate people as to what can they do, how can they get involved in being part of the solution. And the way we looked at it is that, and we're just going to do it based on column inches, that portion of the newsletter production cost should be an eligible expense. We may have to cite more specific reasons why that is, but what's very helpful was you had a gentleman from the EPA Division of Stormwater there specifically discussing this, and Dan was at the meeting too. He was behind me, so I don't know if he was, tuned in, paying attention to that particular portion of the EPA's presentation. But between that one, and we also know with the Class 4 yard waste over here also has those EPA requirements that we have to meet, again, dealing with stormwater, and they talk about what we need to do to keep that out of the drainage courses. So I'm really hoping that we can eventually at least get those two approved. The roadside mowing, I explained to them, it's not just cutting, first off, we're required by law to do it. And it's not just for site visibility, but we also got to keep a good portion of the roadside mowing we do is still with the open ditches. You got to keep those clear, but one other thing you do is you get at least the mower pass, usually on both sides of the ditch, but definitely on the ditch furthest from the road. And what's that do for those areas that are agricultural areas? It kind of gives you a point of demarcation of don't plant here. And, Kevin, you're aware of when the guys bring their drainage right up to there, well, that's where you get the runoff, and we're specifically required to try and minimize the runoff, both erosion and sediment that gets in, so you have the suspended sediment that gets into the stormwater, in addition to the runoff from any of the herbicides and pesticides, the fertilizers, anything else that's put on, and the EPA discussed all of that. So we may push this a little bit more with the prosecutor's office, but I want to put that on hold temporarily, because as I discussed before, the U.S. Senate already passed a bill. It was Senate Bill 3011, and it went to the House. The House, the only action they've done is they've assigned a placeholder, their bill, and I did put this on the agenda, so we have it now. And I'd mentioned this at the last meeting. I think it was October 26th that they actually put the placeholder on, but it's HR 5735, and that has, the only action is that has been assigned to the Oversight and Government Reform Committee. But there haven't been any meetings on it as of yet. That would have been as of last Saturday was the last time I checked. And with them being on a break right now for the holidays, I wouldn't expect any real action here, probably until next year. But if the House concurs with what the Senate passed, this all becomes moot, because as we discussed at the last meeting, it pretty much comes for those that receive less than $10 million, you can use it pretty much for all of your general government services. So we wouldn't even have to worry about the prosecutor's opinion. We would just point to the new bill that's come into place. There is one thing, and I didn't talk with Dan on this, there's one error in here. It says, no, it does say, it says final interim rule. I don't know that they should have said final. It should have just been interim rule on May 17th. That the guidance that we currently have for the eligibility on the use of these funds is still an interim rule. There is no final rule yet. So going through the same sequence we went through on the eligibility use for the CARES Act funds is the ARPA funds are going through the same process. So at this point, it's still an interim rule subject to change, and that change would most likely, in this case, instead of coming through from a new rule issued by the U.S. Treasury, might actually be an act of Congress. So it's just at this point, we just have to wait and see, but I didn't want to start putting together an argument for our case on some of these items, why they should be eligible expenses at this point in time with additional information, because if this changes, that's an awful lot of time expended for something that will then be obsolete, hopefully sometime soon. But you've got the prosecutor's response there, and so, Chris, I think some of these you've already been paying out because we knew these would be eligible for the ARPA fund. So like, you know, the catch basin repair and replacement, Kevin, I know you reported on this at the last meeting. I don't know if those are complete yet, but you had those cutouts 2 weeks ago. You know, the street sweeping's already been done, any tile installation, restoration. You know, the Engel ditch, which we're still waiting on Wolf Brothers to finish that up. Bat House ditch will be the one coming up, but I wanted to get that down prior to that project getting started. Any detention pond maintenance that we have to do, even your time going out, which you'll see in the last complaint here about the tree falling in the creek over there on Dewey Road. And I don't know how often you get involved in our own oil trap, you know, containment here, but all the time and effort you guys spend on that and the cost of getting that cleaned out is all eligible expenses, because that was specifically put in for the quality of the stormwater. And if you recall, when we had this expansion, Dan Bogoveski was actually here at our township when we discussed that and what we needed to put in place, along with that the director at the time of Lorraine Soil and Conservation District. So those were, we specifically made those expenses in addition to the detention pond out back, specifically for stormwater. So anyway, I just wanted you guys to have that. I did not update, though, the overall list, other than to indicate that the prosecutor has provided the opinion, because it's with a number of items on there, it's difficult to keep track of the status of each one without having it documented on that spreadsheet. Okay, we'll move on. Welcome. I don't see anybody in the audience here, so we'll move on. Correspondence, Chris?
I just handed out with all of you the copies of letters that were made to the county engineer and the Lorraine County auditor that the trustees were CC'd on regarding the Lorraine County Commissioners adopting resolution number 21-640A on October 19th, 2021, finding for the improvement and confirming assessments in order the letting of contracts for the Batten House Lateral 2, Amherst and New Russia Township.
Thanks, Chris. And this, again, this is one we've discussed before here. The commissioners have held the requisite public hearings. Though the petition was initiated by a resident in New Russia Township, the majority of this project is in Amherst Township. The commissioners are deferring any assessment cost on this. So as long as they've got funding is the plan, the current property owners will not have to pay an assessment, but realize there's no guarantee in the long term. And the majority of those assessments would actually fall on Amherst Township property owners. And I do know that the one of the large ones there, Cirrus Farms, they were at the public hearing because obviously they would be hit with one of the largest assessment amounts. Let's see, to the potential here of almost almost $109,000 a year, which obviously, you know, that's a big chunk of change to swallow. But they did explain how they understand the need for it and they would support it, but at the same time, if they were going to be assessed, they just assume keep things clean themselves as they had been doing, just for the portion on their property. You know, so we've got another property owner here. This is actually Nick and Arthur Abraham, almost $93,000. So obviously they would take a big hit if these assessments ever got put on individuals for the maintenance of that particular ditch. And this is just a lateral which, the engineer's official term is a lateral. I like to use the term a tributary coming into the main Batten House ditch. But the county is going to cover all that cost using the stormwater district funds, 100%, and then maintenance would be the ongoing annual maintenance for that. Okay, was there anything else then, Chris?
That's all I had.
All right, David?
No, I have nothing.
I have nothing.
Okay, then I have one piece of correspondence, and that's the Lorraine County Township Association 2021 Christmas dinner will be on Thursday, December 16th. That would be the normal meeting date for the Lorraine County Township Association. It will be at New Russia Township, beginning at 6:30. Cost is $20 per person. And I'd encourage you to go if you can, because most Lorraine County officials will be there. But get your reservations in by December 10th. Also, at that event, the prosecutor office will be doing the oath of office for any newly elected officials that just in the last November 2021 election. So you can get your oath of office officially taken care of and get a copy of the oath. And as we've done each year, they are asking for a door prize, and I hope that township will agree to up to a limit of $50, and that's what, for the past 20 years, we've kind of said here, and that Amherst Township would provide a door prize for that.
Well, I make a move that we do that.
Well,
Do we need a motion?
No, you don't. What we've done before is approved it when we pay the bills, but we've always put the request in.
Yeah.
Make sure ahead of time so everyone knows. This time, they are not asking. In the past, and it's probably because of the difficulty, we've always donated, though this is up to each individual, would bring a food item, but I don't see anything on here this year, so, and that's probably because of the difficulty of getting people to gather it all up and deliver it, and, it's, we used to alternate between the Second Harvest, and then there's another group, I forget the name of it, in southern Lorraine County, where they deliver the food, but you don't have to provide the food this year. And maybe because this is the lateness of this. But okay, I just want to bring that up, so if you're available, get your registration in, and the oath of office will be presented. And that's all I had on correspondence. Okay, we'll move on to reports. Ambulance, Denny?
Nothing under ambulance.
Okay, sheriff's not here. Zoning, Remy?
We have 3 permits for the for the month. It still stands at 5 new houses. The zoning commission has a meeting set for December the 7th for a design review for storage unit.
There was also, let's see, was the BZA set their organizational meeting. I thought I put that down here, but it appears I did not. So all I've got is the same thing, Remy, the 6:30 a.m. December 7th site plan review for 58 storage facility expansion.
6:30 a.m.
Yeah.
6:30 p.m. Oh, wait
January-
a minute. Is it January 6th or January 26th? I just found it. Okay. For 2022, correct.
7 p.m.
All right, if there's no other questions for zoning inspector, we'll move on. Fire prevention officer isn't here. Roads, parks, and cemetery, Superintendent Smarsh.
We are on leaf cleanup. The catch basins that Sandstone Excavating was doing in cahoots with the mini grant is complete. The yard waste brush pile is to be ground next week, but he's going to confirm that with me on Friday. That's all set for next week. Wolf had moved in equipment for the angle ditch. There's a portion that they're cleaning out, and they got as far as to get the water moving. They're going to try to see if it'll try to get some of that dried up a little bit and then go at it. But it looks good though. Weather doesn't look too terribly bad here in the near future. They might get a good run at it. I had in the park, I had a handful of tree stumps that if I may say, been collecting, so I could get at least maybe a half a day's or a day's worth of a stump grinder. Well, I talked with D&D Stump Grinding, which is Dave McKinney, and I had it set up with him after I seen the price of renting one, and got it all set up with Dave. Dave spent hours down there at the park, ground out all the stumps, and we talked about getting the bill taken care of, and he donated.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he donated his time. I tried to tell him, come on, that's not necessary. But he said that he's been living here in the township on Hidden Valley Drive for 28 years. He's enjoyed the park. He's enjoyed the services, of the township, and just wanted to pay it forward.
Who is that, Kevin?
That was Dave McKinney.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
D&D
we
Stump
need
Grinder.
to
That is sweet.
put his name on the minutes
I am.
and
And his company?
D&D Stump Grinding.
And we need to put down in the minutes a special thank you to him.
I was thinking more of Kevin getting with Georgianne, but we'd have to make sure it's okay with him if we make a small newsletter article. We'd want his approval, because we've had people donate stuff before and they want no recognition at all.
Right on.
Yeah. That would be cool.
Yeah, most definitely. Other than that, everything's rolling pretty smooth, and I guess we'll bring up that with the stormwater on that complaint one.
Right.
That's all I have.
Thank
Do you have any idea on when the new backhoe will get here?
No, I have not. I was kind of waiting to see maybe once December rolls around to check back in. He was hoping by the end of the year, but he definitely could not promise anything like that.
He was hoping by the end of the year we would get it, but he doesn't know that for sure.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
But with our order in, we've got that fixed price.
Yeah,
Because they'll be rolling over now to new contracts, and, the price always seems to go up.
yeah, we're locked in.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
And just, Chris, for you, and you're aware of it, what Kevin said, Sandstone Excavating is complete. Once the mini grant cost comes out, the rest, which account to use. Good deal.
It's already written on there to use it.
Great. Okay, are there any other questions for Kevin?
Nope.
All right. Linda's not here for Township Administration, which is we don't expect her on a second meeting, but we'll cover part of what she's done here on the roads. Let's see, I think I thought I had it in here. Yeah, we had the ODOT stimulus grant for the township. That was due on November 19th. Linda did submit that on November 17th. I did forward the grant application over to everyone, so you'd have a copy of it. We're not going to print out paper copies. There's, between all the attachments and whatnot, there's quite a bit of information there. when you actually look at what's written in the grant, it might not look like much, but I can tell you that Linda and Kevin spent an awful lot of hours chasing down people between ODOT and the county engineer's office. They've also been helpful and spent a lot of time in gathering up all the information necessary. You know, we had to do an actual traffic count, we had to get the pavement condition rating, we had to get the photos of the area to justify that condition rating that was there, the maps of the locations, the explanation. At this point, we did apply for the full amount. This would be the resurfacing of Oberlin Road from Middle Ridge to North Ridge, including all the striping. So the $191,500. We don't know, it'll be in February of 2022, right at the last day, I think it's February 28th, they are supposed to let us know one way or the other. We also know in the communication with ODOT, and specifically the individual with ODOT that is our representative is Jeff Rogers out of Ashland, that they may not give a full award, but there is the potential of a partial award. If there is a partial award, we currently have this project slated to be done in 2022. But if there's a partial award, it can't be done in 2022. It'll be delayed until 2023, and for two reasons. One, that allows the township now to build up some funds so we can contribute more, and we'll put in an application for the Ohio Public Works Commission round to help to pull money from the three different sources to cover that cost. Now, expect if that's the case, that cost is probably going to go up. I mean, who knows what will happen with a good portion of this also being petroleum-based. We all know what's happening with the cost of petroleum. So if that goes up, hopefully we can cover it with some additional OPWC funds, but if not, we're going to have to use additional township funds for that. So, you know, at this point, we'll just wait and see. Of the 1,308 townships, I've mentioned this before, and the $8 million that's been allocated for this, it's really, you know, it's under $6,200 per township if everybody applies. But I suspect many of them are not going to be applying because of the effort to go through. And I do know I've had townships contact me late in the game wanting to know what they needed to do, and I'm like, holy smokes. I didn't tell them holy smokes, but I explained to them what they got to do, but I thought they're starting so late, I've got a feeling they may not even get anything in because it's a lot of work, and you need that official estimate from an certified engineer, a professional engineer. You also need a letter of support from your county engineer saying they are supporting the project. County engineer can deep six it and say, no, we're not supporting this. So we'll wait and see. By February, hopefully we get a positive result. But I do appreciate all the work, Kevin, that you and Linda did, and I know it's been a lot back and forth on that, taken a lot of time, but this has real potential results here. Lorco at this time, I suppose Lorco, I think I've shared before, is going to provide the wastewater treatment now actually for the Cinnamon Lakes area, which is roughly 500 different users, by taking an on-lot or a local wastewater treatment facility that is out of compliance with the EPA and subject to some pretty large fines, and constructing a force main from Cinnamon Lakes to West Salem. 2/3 of the funds have already been obtained for that. We had, it would have been last month, the Lieutenant Governor came to make an award for a portion of that we applied through one of the infrastructure grants that was part of ARPA funds. So that's going to keep the cost down for the residents there in Cinnamon Lakes, and also the overall debt for Lorco. And Lorco's, we're hoping with some other application we made, the ideal thing would be if we could get all of this cost covered through that, and then you're just paying for the treatment cost. And this project is actually beneficial both for Cinnamon Lakes, which, you know, with their group, they couldn't handle the pressures that the EPA was putting them under right now, and they don't have, they're in Jackson Township, they don't have the number of customers to pay for it. And then the same situation was happening in West Salem. West Salem's happy to get these additional customers, so this was just a win-win for all of them. So now it's just a matter of getting the cost down. And if you've been reading the papers, you see out in Eaton Township and Carlisle Township the new construction going on, and most of that is on the Lorco sewers. And you might have seen where the county commissioners are now, and I think they just approved last week, they had a TIF meeting. Yeah, that would have been last week, Tuesday, for Eaton Township, a 10-year, 75% TIF, that the main beneficiary in Eaton Township is going to be the construction of a new fire station. And that's all for a development that can only occur because of the Lorco sewers that have been put in there. So there's nothing directly, you know, typically you think when you have those TIFs, they help pay for the infrastructure that allows the benefit. Well, Lorco, just so everyone knows, Lorco's not getting a penny out of this TIF. So it is going to be a benefit to Eaton Township, but not to Lorco. I'm not sure, because I did not go to that meeting and I did not watch the full meeting. It was unclear to me the way the discussion went, if the TIF's going to cover part of the left-hand turn lane they plan on putting in on 83, or if the developer is paying for that complete. It was confusing to me because it got discussed both ways, so I really don't know. But I do know that Eaton Township is evaluating, you know, a new fire station because their current one just, you know, really doesn't comply. It's for their case, especially if they have a large number of firefighters and paramedics there, and, you know, they're one small little bathroom to use, and that's pretty much it. It's not shower facilities or anything like that. And we've all been aware of how the fire chiefs told us about the new mandates on the fire equipment and the treatment of their uniforms and cleaning, you know, because of the concerns over the cancer-causing agents they deal with. So unless there's any other questions in regards to Lorco, I think that would summarize the key items that are going on right now. Okay, in Phase 2, which deals with the stormwater, I think we've probably covered enough on stormwater. We'll cover, Kevin mentioned the one item that we'll deal with in complaints with Mr. Long, so I'll just move right along to complaints unless someone has something else to deal with stormwater. Okay, on the complaints, Remy will start. We know the first one, that's on hold, which is, again, is a drainage issue, but the second one was down on Deepwood in regards to the property maintenance.
Yeah, and I posted that property there. I have not been able to get a hold of the homeowner himself, but it is posted, and I'm trying to keep an eye on it. If the grass does get to a certain height, then we'll have our guy mow it.
Okay. I think this homeowner, just so you're aware, at least last time I checked, things could have changed, actually lived on Oberlin Road, south of me.
But that, on that house too, is almost always empty, and I've gone there and knocked on that
Yeah,
door.
it seems like it's not well maintained. Okay, so you've even knocked on that door.
Oh, that's not even well maintained. That's got,
Yeah.
I mean, I put a posting on that one, and somehow the grass gets mowed maybe once a year or twice a year. So somebody's doing something there. Whether it might be a neighbor, I don't know, but can't seem to get a hold of this guy.
Okay. Well, you know the process. I mean, the winter will be setting in, but yeah, if we have to go that route, then we'll pass the necessary
Oh, yeah,
resolution and, you know, put it on the tax bill.
right.
Okay, the third one, this dealt with, it was actually a city of Amherst resident concerned with the dumping of garbage. I know you would report or, close to his home, his property. You had
Yeah, I
mentioned
didn't
last meeting you had some
I
communication.
actually haven't gotten to that one yet. I'm gonna go to there tomorrow to see, take a look at it myself. Oh, that was the one, I'm sorry. I did go there.
Yeah, you had
Talked to
mentioned this.
both people. That was, food items that he was dumping in the back, and he said he was, what do they call that when you're
Composting?
composting? And I told him, I said, that has to be inside of a barrel or something. I said, you can't compost on the outdoors. And he said he would take care of it, but I haven't been back to check on him to see if he did. I will do that
Okay.
tomorrow.
All right, the next one, and Chris just received a second complaint for the same issue. These are the, F. Biden flags that you see around the county and probably all around the country, I'd imagine.
Right.
Can you explain what's happened on that and the status?
Yeah, I went and talked to both people. I talked to the gentleman who had the flag. He explained to me, he was telling me his whole story, what's going on, and I appealed to his better nature and asked him if he would consider taking it down or maybe putting it someplace where it's less conspicuous. I talked to Tom Mangan. Tom Mangan said that it's a First Amendment right, and even though it's a cuss word that's on there, it's allowed. And so I talked to the lady that was complaining and told her that I would try to talk to the gentleman. I said, but there's really nothing legally that I can do.
Okay. Well, when you see this other complaint that Chris just sent just before this meeting, if you can respond to that person too, maybe an email and
I will.
let them know, but, I'm just going to take this off then because you've really done everything you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a nice enough guy. He did say that he might do it, so I don't know if it's the same guy with the same flag or if this is somebody new or
Well, you'll have to look at the email, but I
Yeah.
imagine it's the same one.
same one.
Yeah.
Maybe another option would be just don't fly it all the time.
Speak up.
Restrict the time when you fly it.
Only at night?
I mean, yeah, like that. No, only on special
Yeah.
occasions or something.
Can't
So
really
it's
do
not up
that.
there all the time. That would be almost a compromise, but that would reduce the exposure to the word, so.
Yeah, I told him, I said, there's kids next door. I says, it's kind of offensive. I says, I understand you're upset and everything, but there's nothing, upon talking to Tom Mangan, that's free speech and there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, and this has come up in other communities, but I just want to make sure nothing's changed and
No.
kind of expected. But it's best if you get the opinion from the prosecutor, communicate that to people, and if people are still upset, remove yourself from it and let them know the prosecutor's an elected position. If they disagree with his opinion, they can go talk with them directly.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, Kevin, have you talked with Kenneth Long? Obviously you have, haven't you?
Yes,
And the writing on this thing is yours, right?
correct.
Have you heard from Don yet?
Other than that, he did receive the information and the pictures,
Okay,
and he was going to discuss it with Matthew, but I have not heard if they had gotten out there yet to take a look at it. I have spoke again with Kenny, and, to let him know that they did get the information and the pictures. I'm keeping my eye on it. It's not like the water's dammed up,
okay.
but if I was making sure that the debris didn't keep building up there in the sense to where that it would dam up. So, and it's not. And unless some fluke things happen, I don't think that it will really dam up and cause any type of problem like that. There's plenty of outlet there. But the branch did fall into the creek. It did kind of bust up. But the tree itself, the way I looked at it, and I says, it could be different, but that's a property owner's issue. It doesn't appear that it really any more of the tree is going to fall into the creek. Because it's all, the rest of the trees basically on the outside of the creek. So,
But being a drainage course, we don't have authority. He did the right thing going to the county, the stormwater district, because they do have the authority, and then it'll be their decision
yes,
what to do.
it is out of the right of way. I explained that to Kenny, that, it wasn't, say in our jurisdiction, but I did take the information, and he does know that.
Oh, good, that'll help, because this very situation actually came up at that meeting with the EPA also. They freely understand, drainage courses move, and particularly when they get blocked like this, they're still going to find a path eventually, and then they start wearing away, and you get more trees falling, or you get the backup, which then starts picking up other contaminants and floating them down. But, fortunately, as you said, it's not blocking things yet, but you know how things are, they can. It's, all it has to do is somebody throws a old Christmas tree out, and it floats down the ditch, and that snags on it, and it doesn't take long, it backs up everything. So, but I appreciate you jumping on this, Kevin. We actually had to change things in the packet, because I had put in the complaint first, and then you had already answered it, so we changed them out to get your answer in. Everybody saw it, but thank you. Okay, as far as unfinished business for the items that have been assigned specific responsibility, it's just open up to the trustees for the items you're responsible for. Is there anything to bring forward?
I have nothing.
David?
I have nothing at this time.
Okay.
Quiet.
All right, then I have one other item. I put this under new business. This has come up before. This is on the street standard review, specifically in the subgrade stabilization. And you have in your packet, you've got it's dated March 9, 2021, a letter from Bob Kleiber of Lorraine County Engineer's Office. There's an April 6, 2021 email from John Evanson. He's the one involved with the Hampshire Farms development going in on Oberlin Road north of Middle Ridge, and eventually there will be one on Oberlin Road between Middle Ridge and State Route 113. And then you've got a copy of the township's current pavement design for residential areas. And the reason I've included this time is originally the county, Lorraine County Board of Commissioners had meetings going on as far as road standards and residential and commercial development across the county. But because of the changeover and different other items that have occurred in county government, that's kind of been put on the back burner. But since we've got these developments going on, I had specifically told John Evanson at the time that the township and the county wouldn't be able to move fast enough for Hampshire Farms, so you're going to have to meet the current standard, and he agreed, no issue with that. But they just asked if we would look at this for when they eventually do the sandstone development that's going to be between Middle Ridge and 113. And I think he said, Kevin, you were out at the proof roll there on Hampshire Farms.
Yes.
He said that particular one just had to be one of their better ones, and in any of the cities that they do work, they wouldn't put any stabilization in there. I guess they must have had one similar they just did in Lorraine, and they had certain areas they had to bring stone in. But I just want to bring it up before the trustees to decide what process you think we should follow on this, if anything. And also, so you're aware, our standard, which was given to us by a supplier who was obviously in the cement business and trying to sell soil stabilization, But we did approve that and put it in the county subdivision regulations. But we show the 6-inch soil stabilization. It's a 726 pavement design. And that's what was provided us by that supplier at the time. It was explained to me by John Evanson, they're actually going to put in 12 inches on Hampshire. And he says the reason is, and it'd be better if he were here to explain it, he says when they only go 6 inches, sometimes they get some shearing, which then actually causes more problems. So he says they're going to go 12 inches. And I know in Bob's letter he refers to, I know Columbia Township and Carlisle Township both specify 12 inches, but everybody kind of made the change at the same time. And now there's a question if that even should be done. Are you creating more problems by disking it up and mixing in the soil, soil cement, so to speak, and relying on whether you need to add water, not add water to get that to set up right versus doing a proof roll and then determining where do you need to actually dig it out, add stone, and stabilize it. So I told John I'd bring it up just so that the township can at least make a decision what they're going to do and potentially have it ready before they start this new development. Just so you're aware, it wouldn't just be a decision here. The township would have to decide, and the Board of Commissioners have to pass a resolution at the county level. So, this would take some time. It's not a fast-moving thing. I just want to open it up. What do the trustees want to do? And if they want to do anything, how do they see proceeding from this point forward, since the county kind of lost the momentum there with the changes as far as them organizing these meetings and giving us direction as to which way to go, what they would like to see. So I'm opening it up to the floor now.
I will just say at this time, Neil, we need something under the road. We need some kind of a base. Something to stabilize the concrete. We just can't pour concrete on dirt. Nothing under the concrete. But we need something there to help the water for support, and we need the limestone, something to allow the water to seep out rather than lay under the road. That's where we ran into a lot of problems in Hidden Valley. Subgrade, no drainage, and water would get under the concrete, and the concrete over time would just crack to pieces and heat. We lose a whole section of road because of, poor construction, poor standards. We need something under them.
Okay.
We may, if you don't want to soil cement, if you don't want to stabilize underneath the limestone, you may look at requiring more limestone. We may have to go to a thicker limestone, so there's something there.
Now, just so we're clear, that's all we're talking about is the soil stabilization. Stone would still be there. Drainage would still be there.
But without the stabilization, what I'm saying, something to think about, would be if you don't have the soil cement there, then you may need more limestone under it.
And that's possible. What I want to do, David, is right now, who do we rely on as far as any type of design dealing with roads? County engineer, required by statute. And so that's why I'm just bringing it up, because it was actually the county engineer back in the time, and I'd have to look at it because it's in the time I've been here. They had just recommended that the townships all come up with what they wanted for their road standards so they could include them as part of their subdivision regulations. And that's when we started the process, and I don't know how complete we were because we also had someone pushing soil stabilization, but they had a vested interest because they're selling product. So I don't know now if that was good or bad, and so now I've got this letter from the county engineer's office asking that this be looked at again. in terms of the soil stabilization. So it's just now I'm asking for, how do we want to proceed with this and going forward, just on that, not talking about if it needs to be more stone, that may be the case, but I'd rely on the county engineer to tell us that. I'm not just going to say put in more stone.
If you proof roll it and you don't need it stabled, then I wouldn't stable it.
And that's pretty much what the county engineer's saying, because they say it could then create more problems. But, you know, I wish the county would give us, here's the process we want you to follow. And I can ask for that specifically, but I wasn't sure, how do we want to proceed here in doing this? I don't know if we can get the county engineer to come forward at a meeting, whether we set it up in a warning meeting or whatever, but...
I would like to at least do that. Why don't we talk to Bob and ask him to come to a morning meeting anytime that's convenient for him, and get him to tell us what he wants, and then we'll do it. That's simple. Am I thinking incorrectly?
I don't think so, Denny, and the time deadline is really the Spline Road. Because, you know,
This
Hampshire
development,
Farms is
that's
going
already
in.
done.
Yeah, that's going in per this standard, and I told them from day one,
They've
we can't
already-
move fast enough.
They've already done the soil stabilization.
Right, that's
It's done.
right, and I talked with John Evanson, he understood that. That's what the impetus was. He sent a new email saying, hey, I had your road guy out. This one was really good. And at first I misunderstood his email. What's he asking for? Because he said, no, meet the standard. We couldn't move. And so then I called him and he said, oh, absolutely. They're going to put in the soil stabilization. They said, here's a perfect example where now they're going to disrupt the soil, whereas they had a real good proof roll. And so I told him, well, and he's asking about the sandstone. I said, well, look at it again. Now, keep in mind, they can't do a whole lot without putting in that Spline Road first. And long term, once that's in, we're actually planning on that becoming a county road.
Right.
So, you know, the county's got a vested interest. Now, the other roads we'll still own, whatever standard comes up is going to be the same. The county engineer's not going to take over that road till after the road's in, then we'll get the change between the responsibility of the roads. At least that's the way it's been explained to me. Well, I can try and set something up unless someone else wants to, because we're going right into the fire service agreement times now too, so that's going to take some time.
You want me to call Bob?
If you would, and arrange like a 7:30
Well, I'll make it
work
7.
session, or, you know, even 7, whatever works for him.
I'll call him tomorrow.
Okay. I appreciate it, Denny, and you've got, I didn't put out the detailed explanation, but the real key is this document and Bob's document. But I'd like them to give us, tell us what you guys want and explain it. How would you guys write this and put it into that section of the subdivision regulations? You know, because now it doesn't pass the proof roll. What do you do on those portions? You know, what are the criteria going to be? Now, there's the other question, do they get samples sent out to the lab? You know, here, they've actually sent samples out to the lab ahead of time, those soil conditions. Our street standards don't say anything about that. You know, because they obviously don't want a bad road, because most of those problems are going to show up early on in the road's life. You know, they'll still be trying to sell houses, and you don't want to sell, you know, you're trying to sell something, and now you got a bad road. That's going to stick out like a sore thumb.
The first proof roll that was taking place on Friday, it's a 60,000 pound tandem axle. It was going through, sub base was really good. And there was a section where there's the intersection that it, you know, you could tell it was a little soft, if I may say. But then the proof roll Monday afternoon, it was as if you could build the Empire State Building on that subgrade. It was like riding on concrete, 60,000 pounds.
Yeah, well, you know, that's gonna vary depending upon where you are and what the soil conditions are.
Sure. This time of the year, you know, with
Right.
all the moisture we've had, walking on it, watching that truck roll on it, I was definitely impressed with it.
Are we getting curb drains on that?
Yeah.
That's maybe the most important thing right there.
Yeah, and that's still going to be required, David, so. Yeah,
Even if you've got a wet spot, if you've got a way for the water to get out, you got a way for it to drain right there, there's been a lot of problems. In some wet spots, if you just put a drain in, it'll dry out over time.
Okay, well, Denny, just let us
I'm
know.
gonna
I just
call
didn't
Bob
want this to.
Kleiber. I'll have him here at 7 in the morning, and I'll ask him if he can come. What's a good day?
Well, 7 a.m. generally is good on most days for me.
7 a.m. good for you, David?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when we do those early, you know, obviously not Thanksgiving.
Not Thanksgiving. It'll probably be, I would think, next week, because tomorrow is Wednesday, and Thursday is Thanksgiving, and Friday. So it's gonna be, I would think, next week.
I've got, and I could come, that's only Georgianne, she's got a 7 a.m. issue on a Wednesday, but I can still be here.
Next Wednesday?
Yeah, I can really 7 a.m. any day next week.
Are you good for next week, David?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, I'll set it up for next week. I'll try to get it on Monday if I can, and then Tuesday, I'll get it next week.
Okay,
7
thanks,
a.m.
Danny.
here at the township, okay?
Yeah,
Tell him we want to talk about these specs
right,
that he sent the letter out on.
yes.
Okay,
All right, is there any other business then?
no,
All right, our next regular meeting will be on December 14th at 7 o'clock p.m. And then the 2022 end-of-year and organizational meeting will be on Tuesday, December 21st at 7 o'clock p.m.
December.
And we're canceling the 28th meeting, correct?
We will. I haven't put that out. Georgianne asked the same thing. I said, Georgianne, I'm just leaving it there in case something comes up and Chris says, hey,
We do need a
you got to
meeting.
get
and then-
together.
Okay.
So I didn't want to cancel it too
You do-
soon.
You don't want to put canceled out?
Yeah, and then have to schedule a special meeting. It's like I'm scheduling a special meeting on a regular day would seem
I understand the
weird.
logic now.
So that's the 21st, the following Tuesday,
The
right?
21st, right,
Okay, so we have our first meeting in December the 14th.
on the 14th. And then we may cancel December 28th, but I don't want to cancel it yet. Because, you know, it always seems something comes up at the end of the year, and it would be easier to leave that meeting open versus canceling it and then having to post an emergency meeting, and it's just cumbersome. Okay, any need for an executive session?
No, sir.
Okay, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Euring,
Yes?
Abraham,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.